Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope, they both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes.
On a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Quivercast, where we chat with surfers from all around the world, from all walks of life, and we get their story. Find us at www.thequivercast.com. I am Mike, your host. Let's get into the show. All right, everyone, stoked. We have Matt Kechele here on the podcast, and I'm stoked. How are you, Matt?
Yeah, good, Mike. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, it's good to catch up with you and have a chat, bud.
So I'm gonna go back to my first probably memory. Your boards are kind of iconic.
Yeah,
That's the first thing that I remember of knowing about you.
right on. Yeah, you probably used to see some of the advertisements in the magazines. I used to do those design forums quite a bit. There was a number of years I was linked up with the guys at Sundeck. Those guys actually helped me start my my own brand, back when I had that K with the circle.
Yes.
And they did quite a bit of advertising. I was really lucky and really thankful to Bill Yerkes, who was the owner of Sundeck at that time.
Wow.
Back in the early 80s. Yeah, that's quite some time ago.
Doesn't seem like a long time, but I guess it's been some years.
Yeah, good old days with the magazines, and it's always sort of a crapshoot. You try to do, pick some good images and come up with a good advertisement and cross your fingers that you did a good job,
Were you involved in the marketing on that?
A little bit. I'd oftentimes maybe try to help them find a good photograph or something, let them run with it. Usually, then when Sundeck folded, I kind of took it over on my own and started doing all my own ads.
But you're already established at that point, right?
Yeah. I was, like I said, I was really thankful and I was really lucky that those guys backed me in that way. In the early years, it was right around 1985 when they helped me start my brand.
Then let's start kind of there then, actually. Let's talk about why you got into shaping.
Going way back in Cocoa Beach, being close to the Space Center, there was a really lot of people in and around my neighborhood that were building surfboards. And my brother, Mark, used to make some boards. And it's really funny. Everyone would have the outline of a surfboard on the garage floor, be it a hot coat or glassing boards. And as a kid, I'd ride around my bike and notice a lot of other people building boards, and it always kind of interested me. And then when my brother started making boards, I was kind of really paying attention and watching him, and I'd help him sand the boards. Just a handful of boards, but
Yep.
It was enough that, he'd kind of getting the knack for shaping and getting the knack for glassing. And then I decided, hey, I want to do it. And, started doing it myself a little bit too. And I was just a little guy. I was about 13 years old when I first started. And there really wasn't any ground boards to be found. So I was kind of I want to make a kind of high performance board for myself and see what I can learn. And it was a long process, but it was cool. Kind of doing that, in our garage and having just learned, from scratch like that.
You were surfing already, so you knew the surf kind of culture at this point, right? Before you even started.
I was starting to learn it. I was really entrenched in the surf magazines and trying to learn as much as I could. What happened? What really kind of helped my career, kind of gave me that leapfrog and really got me interested was the Salick brothers. These two twin brothers opened a surf shop right at the end of my street,
Wow.
and that particular street is called Slater Way now, which is pretty cool.
That's rad.
Because Kelly used to surf there, and
Wow, that's cool.
at the end of that street, there was a little hamburger joint called the Islander Hut, and
Yeah.
you can kind of read about that in Kelly's book called Pipe Dreams. Kelly's mom worked there, but the Salick brothers, they were really two really good guys. They moved over here from the Gulf Coast and started their own surf shop, and they had their own brand of surfboard. I met them. I brought one of my personal boards that I'd made into the store, and just kind of wanted to show them what I was doing. And they were just really, really nice to me. And my boards were really hideous at that time, but yeah, for real. But they were really nice to me, and they took some interest in me, I think. We got a few surfs together at the end of the street, and then I don't know, it must have been maybe 6 months or so later, they had asked me to join their surf team, and I recognized it was a really great opportunity, and to be able to ride, like a board that's really made by a really good shaper, which at that time his name was Bob Carson. So the name of that surf shop was called Carson and Salick. The Salick brothers, they really built a really big name for themselves. Rich Salick and his brother, like I said, they're twins, and Rich needed a kidney. He had a kidney problem, and so his twin brother donated his kidney, and years later they started the national, they started a surf event that all the proceeds went to the National Kidney Foundation. So today it is regarded as the largest charitable surf event in the world.
Oh, cool.
And it takes place in Cocoa Beach. So both Rich and Phil were just really, really good humans. Rich has passed. He passed about 6 years ago, but his brother Phil is still alive, and I'm still in touch with them. But yeah, those guys really took me under their wing, and brought me to Sebastian Inlet for my first time, and really mentored me. And they actually, they got Kelly on the boards really when he was really young. I think around 6 or 7 years old, and his brother Sean too. And yeah, they're just really good guys, and they looked after and had a great surf team going in Cocoa Beach, and myself, and along with dozens of other surfers, they really helped them, kind of mentor them, and give them a good head start in surfing.
They were the neighborhood hub, and all the guys.
Yeah, it really was just a small little, probably an 800 square foot store. And this was right around getting around the time when Quicksilver was just starting to hit the racks in the surf shops. Yep. And so we all rode single fins, and and Stingers were kind of starting to become the hot board. And so yeah, it was a really, really cool time in surfing, and those guys were just really, really good guys, man. And a bunch of neighborhood groms all kind of were really fortunate that they took us all under their wing. And Rich and Phil, they both had they were both pro surfers. They surfed in some of those early Florida pro events.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going all the way back.
That's cool.
Those guys in the early 60s. I think they were on the Weber surf team.
Oh, okay.
Jim Brady of West Coast Surf Shop, which is still going today in Bradenton, Florida. He was the guy that got the Salix on board. So those guys kind of passed the torch, when they opened their own surf shop. So yeah, it's really cool. I think it's there's so many surfers that kind of organically got mentored, in their neighborhood surf shop, and I was really fortunate that those guys opened up right at the end of my street. Honestly, I don't know what would have become of me if those guys didn't open that surf shop. At the time, I was kind of interested in surfboard building, but I was kind of equally interested in BMX, bicycle. It's kind of a toss-up of what I really wanted to do. Yeah, those guys kind of really helped kind of set a path for me.
Okay. So you were 13, you said around 13 kind of when they started.
Yeah.
And how good were you at BMX? Were you pretty good at
Yeah, I was pretty good at BMX. A lot of the
That's
kids
rad.
around town were really into it.
Okay.
And, at the time, motocross was pretty prominent, and
Yeah.
there was a good mix of motocross or surfing, and a lot of young kids. I think they aspired to get into motocross through BMX.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of one of those kids in my bedroom. Like on one wall was all surf images,
Okay.
surf magazine pictures, and the other side was motocross guys.
Yes. That's rad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did you have to pick one direction?
No, I didn't, but I was kind of like, I was equally interested. I'd say when I was 12 or 13, I was kind of equally interested in both. I think it's just they're both really fun, right?
Yeah.
And
Heck yeah.
so I was kind of not sure where I was going to go, when you're young like that too. And this is before pro surfing, really. So,
Yes.
surfing wasn't really a sort of path that you kind of look at like, okay, yeah, there wasn't any clear path. But motocross was already pro motocross
Established.
was already kind of a thing,
Yeah.
So
You go to these guys, you show them your board. What do they say?
I think they were generous with their compliments, but I
That's super
knew.
cool.
Looking back, I mean, I knew there was probably the boards were pretty rough, and but still they rode, something that I was proud of. But I also recognized that them inviting me to be a part of their team was like this really cool opportunity, and they already had a number of other champion surfers on board, and there was some guys that were like, they had some East Coast titles already, and
Yeah.
there was pro surfers that were coming by the surf shop, like Richard and Phil New, David Nueva, and some of those guys, and they would pop into town from time to time. It's a pretty interesting story. Richard Salick, there's this classic image. I'll send it over to you after our conversation. Cool. He won a world contest that was in Oceanside in your backyard there.
Okay.
And I guess he beat Henson, and it was really kind of a controversial sort of thing.
Yeah.
Those guys, I guess Henson kind of got kind of upset that he got beat by a Florida guy,
Okay.
and those guys were kind of squaring up in the parking lot and kind of having a conversation, like kind of poking each other in the chest. And
that's awesome.
Richard looked like a quarterback, for the Steelers or something. I mean, like a linebacker or something for like the Steelers. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty classic photo. I'll show you this photo. You're like, wow, this is like an intense moment,
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but they worked it out. Like Rich is a very cordial sort of person. He's never been like a type of guy that get in a fight, but I guess Henson was kind of pushing the moment,
Yeah. Okay. So how was Florida versus California? Was there a rivalry kind of going on, or east or west, or?
Yeah, not that I knew of it at the time. It's a pretty cool story. The Sebastian Inlet, and
it's a rad story.
Back in the Mike Tabling and Claudia Codgens and Greg Lower, all these Florida stars from the late '60s. Gary Proper, kind of like Sebastian was this kind of secret spot. Mike Tabling kind of held those cards close to his chest and really didn't tell anybody about it. I guess 5 or 6 years later, after it started showing up in the magazines, like some really incredible images of Greg Lower and surfing waves that really don't look like Florida.
Yeah.
They look like somewhere else. And Surfer Magazine kind of got onto it, that the lighting was better because Larry Pope could go out on the jetty and shoot the waves at an angle. So he could get better images of the surfers, and kind of got to be more well-known. Well, years later, some guys, the Griffin brothers, they had a magazine called Wave Rider Magazine, and Dick Kechele, they started doing the Florida Pro, which was kind of like some of the first pro surf contests, Wow. I mean, this is going back, around that time of, Bell's Beach was already going on, but it's in that same sort of time period.
Yeah.
So some of the Californians were coming over. Mike Purpose used to come over. Some of the Hawaiians were coming over, Dane and Larry Bertelman and Reno, and then some of the Aussies started coming over.
Just to surf the inlet?
Yeah, just to surf the inlet for a pro contest, and it was called the Florida Pro. So that had a pretty big effect on me because I started seeing, I was already aware of how good the wave was, but when I started seeing like these international guys coming, it really kind of sparked some fire in me and got me really a lot more enthused that, like, hey, maybe surfing might be a path that I could choose.
And you knew these guys from the magazines, or how did you know who they were?
I had seen them, in the magazines, and then the Salix started having some parties in their parking lot where they'd have 8mm film showing off the Florida pros, and it had a really big effect in me seeing these guys, surfing in our backyard and surfing waves that were much better than Cocoa Beach. So kind of from that point on, from when I got on board with the Salix and after they took me to Sebastian, I was trying to figure out any way I could to get to Sebastian, and because the wave was just so much better, and I knew it was going to really help my surfing a lot more.
How far away from your house was it?
Yeah, it's a good 45-minute drive.
Oh, it's a little bit of ways.
Yeah, it's pretty far. I actually used to hitchhike sometimes to try to get a ride, or I'd, kind of break open the piggy bank and get some change and beg my mom for 50 or 60 cents, which would be enough to talk some old guy to give me a ride down to the inlet. Put a few gallons in his car,
Okay.
But what's interesting about that Florida Pro is that actually inspired PT and Ian to team up with Randy Rarick and start, the Florida Pros. It wasn't like formally announced, but PT in 1976, those guys kind of formulated with Randy Rarick some like a point system, at some of the pro events around the world, and the Florida Pro became quickly as one of those stops,
Yes.
And those guys had said that event kind of sparked that thought that, hey, we could start our own pro surfing circuit, and so that's pretty cool story. It's in the Encyclopedia of Surfing.
Wow. Yeah.
Matt Warshaw wrote about it and stuff, and so anyhow, it was just really cool to see all those guys stop into town too, and
actually witness their surfing.
Yeah, I actually got to see David Nueva surf Sebastian Inlet, and of course we had Jeff Crawford here in our backyard.
You guys had
pipeline master,
huge names.
Right
there.
Yeah, for sure. Mike Tabling, and
of course,
Gary Proper. Gary Proper is kind of considered as the first ever pro surfer, and he was from Cocoa Beach.
Okay. So you see David Nueva show up, but you also see all the local guys, the guys, that you're looking up to beforehand.
Yeah.
How did their surfing look comparable? Were they comparable?
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. If you look up some of the old, 70s magazines of Greg Lower surfing and the kind of surfing that Jeff Crawford was doing, like Greg Lower was like getting vertical, like getting the board at 12 o'clock and pivoting in the lip. So that kind of led to like the kind of the real spark in my surfing career was, the progression that was basically around 15 years old. The guys in Melbourne Beach that owned Ocean Avenue Surf Shop, they had asked me to join their team, and they had Greg Lower, who was a really top shaper, shaping for them.
Yeah,
and they had a really formidable surf team, like U.S. champions, East Coast champions, and they had a top skateboard team.
Yes,
as well, and kind of like looking back on it all, I kind of had always referred to Ocean Avenue Surf Shop, and what it was kind of like the East Coast Z-Boys. They had very prominent skateboarders. Rodney Mullen,
Yes.
skated for him, Mike McGill, and so that when I was able to join up with Ocean Avenue, like that's when things really started clicking, and the boards were better, shaped by Greg Lower.
Okay.
I was hanging out with Jeff Klugel.
The board designs changing though, also?
Not a whole lot, but
weren't?
Greg Lower, it was still on single fins at that time.
Okay.
And Jeff Klugel and some of these guys had their own models, and
okay.
Jeff Klugel and Greg Mungle was another guy.
Yeah.
He's from Cocoa Beach, but he used to pop in and hang out at Ocean Avenue. And so anyhow, this surf shop at Ocean Avenue in Melbourne Beach, it was just like this whole nother level of energy and enthusiasm around surfing. And of course, it was closer to the inlet. It was, it's only 20 minutes from Sebastian. So in my mind, I was like, well, if I can just get to Ocean Avenue, I'm halfway there.
Yeah.
And I can get a ride from there with one of these guys. And so that's when things really started clicking for me, and Bruce Walker and Lewis Graves. Lewis Graves is actually Dylan Graves' father.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
Like I said, they had a really progressive sort of program going. Lewis started like a photo incentive, which a lot of people say was like the first ever photo incentive in pro surfing. And he kind of came up with a formula, and then he had like a contest incentive, to reward his team riders for, certain results in the contest. And so I turned pro at 16 years old, and I did the whole ESA thing, with the Salick brothers, and surfed the amateur events, and then
and did well, right?
I did okay. I got like third in the East Coast Championships. I never won one, but I was inspired to enough to know, like, I've got the ability that I can turn pro one day. And, and it wasn't until I had beat Pat Mulhern in like an amateur event that I realized, I'm gonna turn pro here soon.
So one more question that comes to mind. So Sebastian Inlet has more power and kind of a bigger wave than like pretty much everything else around. How was your surfing when you were surfing down the street from your house? Was it? Did it make a difference being in the inlet or not?
Yeah, it was like night and day. I mean, for what you could do on Sebastian, and the wedges that come off that jetty, and the amount of speed you can get, and it kind of just opened up my surfing to like a whole nother level. And interesting part of what happened with Ocean Avenue was this Australian guy named Daryl Bolger, who was kind of a ghost shaper for Mark Richards at the time when MR had just introduced the high performance twin fins. Daryl had come over to the East Coast and had done some shaping alongside with Greg Lower, and he brought one of those twin fins over. It was like really, really fresh. Like nobody in the United States really had these yet. So Greg Lower was able to kind of get onto that, fin placement and kind of take a good look at those boards. And Klugel, that same week, Jeff Klugel had a high performance twin fin. I think this is like 77.
Wow.
Early 78 or something. And we were all watching, like Jeff surfing was like going to this whole nother level,
Wow.
like just getting so much more speed and starting to like grind on the lip. And it was a natural thing. We were all kind of skating, surfing, and there were skate parks all over Florida starting to pop up. And so it was just a natural thing to try to take a skateboarding approach to surfing. And and then with the twin fins, that happened at the same time. That was kind of like almost what the twin fins did for our surfing is kind of what like urethane wheels did for skateboarding. It just brought it to this whole new level. And so we were just really, really lucky that this guy Daryl Bolger, came to town, and it kind of gave us a kind of a jump start on a lot of the other surfers and board builders around.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
yeah, so it's pretty cool. And that's kind of shortly after I got my first twin fin. I was starting to do airs and
Yes.
and mix that up. Sebastian, the way that wave wedges is just like the perfect little skate park for doing them. And then it was kind of like all of us started just pushing each other into new levels and doing different sort of skate stuff on the waves, you know?
Do you remember the first time you standing on a twin fin? And what did you feel? If you do
I
remember.
actually don't remember. I just remember just going a lot faster. And, you know, like I said, it was obvious, like the boards, like they were just so much better than single fins by the way Jeff was surfing. And Jeff was starting to get a few shots in the magazines and stuff too, right off the bat when he got his first twin fin and stuff. And so he really inspired us.
What happened to all the single fins? Because you guys probably just put them away. I'm assuming.
Yeah, they were just they were just gone so right away. And, so yeah, Greg Lower was at a certain right around that time period. Greg was doing like 50 boards a week. It was like
wow,
yeah,
all hand shaped.
Yeah, hand shaped and just churning out boards. I got a job working with Bruce in the pack and ship and skateboarding of Walker skateboards.
Okay.
Bruce was a top skateboarder himself. And so it was just super high energy, you know, and that's kind of what was a huge attribute for my surfing. And yeah, you know, I did the airs and was really focused on it for, I don't know, 5 years or so. And then I recognized I needed to work on my rail surfing more. So and then I also recognized that there's probably a good chance I'm going to break my knee or something if I keep on this path. And
you're surfing different than almost everyone else, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking a different approach, and you know, I was really focused on the airs and doing tricks. I was doing some pop shoves, and there was a number of locals that were definitely giving me some shit for doing different stuff, you know? Yeah.
A traditionalist kind of guy?
But I didn't care.
Traditional?
Yeah, I think there were some traditional older guys inlet guys that were all kind of salty and stuff, and it was pretty funny. But I was still focused on it, and I could see where it was going. It was easy to see the skateboarders were pushing new realms and skating and doing tricks, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do new stuff. But you know, at the time, I mean, Greg Lower, there was nothing to take away from what Greg Lower was doing. He was doing that 12 o'clock vertical, you know, pivot, which at that time was kind of skateboarding as well, where the guys in the pool were kind of going up and just pivoting.
Were you skating?
Yeah, I was skating, and then I broke my leg. I think I was 15. I broke my ankle, so that kind of set me back a little bit. It was just a fracture. It wasn't bad, but it kind of like got me more into surfing and skating less.
Softer landing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah, it just seems like there's just so much going on in this like small area of Florida.
Yeah. It was really weird, Mike, that short little time period between like age 13 to 16 or 17 for me. There's so many good things kind of fell into place and started happening. I was really, really lucky.
Yeah. Really,
really lucky. You know, I'll be the first to. I just can't thank all those guys that inspired me and mentored me enough that, you know, it really helped me out.
On a personal side, I got to ask you this. It seems like you're never home. What were your parents thinking? Were they all behind you, or were they kind of?
Yeah, no, my dad was an engineer out at the Cape, and I think he was pretty suspect that, you know,
I would guess.
That not sure where pro surfing was going to take me, but you know,
that's funny.
But I brought home like $1,000 check.
That's a lot of money then.
I think it was in when was that? I think it was in 1980, 79 or 80, early 80, I think.
Yeah.
And it kind of surprised him, and I think he was like, "Whoa, okay, I can see where this could turn into something." And then he started kind of backing me a little bit more on what I wanted to do. And they actually bought me a ticket to Hawaii. They had told me if I graduate from high school, they'll buy me a ticket to go to the North Shore for the
Oh,
winter.
sweet.
So that was a huge motivator for me to finish school, you know.
Did you want to finish school? Were you over it?
Yeah, I mean, I did, but I think they recognized I was so focused on surfing too that threw that little carrot out there, like, hey, let's you know,
Yeah.
took it a lot more serious once they offered that.
So they motivated you to make sure you graduated. That's cool.
Yeah, I think they, you know, it got me a little bit more sort of inspired to do well in school too, and but yeah, that was.
Were you going for C's or were you going for A's? Like, what were you? You just trying to pass?
I mean, I think I was just cruising through school until like 11th and 12th grade. Then I kind of recognized, like, well, like after this, it's going to cost money for me to get an education, you know? And,
okay.
And then I kind of like, you know, started really taking it serious, and felt like I learned a lot in the 11th and 12th grade, which was a great thing.
All right. So we can go back to your pro surfing. So you, in the 80s or late 70s, you were kind of starting to make money.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking this is what I want to do, and you know, I want to go and surf pipeline, and I want to learn how to become a big wave surfer. And
really,
at that point, I was kind of like I mentioned, I was kind of ditching the whole efforts and being an air guy and being a small wave guy. I wanted to be a big wave guy and just focus on that. And basically, you know, from 80, I went to the North Shore virtually every winter for, I think, like 26 years in a row or something like that. Yeah, that was incredible.
How were the early years in Hawaii, and how were you treated?
Yeah, they were pretty amazing. You know, my first time surfing pipeline, like real pipeline, like Lopez was out. There was only like 12 guys out. It was a lot easier to get waves, you know, but yeah, I mean, I had white hair, right? I always kind of had red boards or something. So there was a number of times that probably got picked out of the crowd for, you know, probably taking more waves than I should have or something, you know. But part of the learning process back then, you know.
That's funny. If a wave was coming your way, you just went, or like, what was your attitude?
No, I mean, no, I was always respectful. I knew better to always, you know, to give respect to when I traveled, and the Hawaiians certainly commanded that respect. And
of course,
but yeah, I wanted to just kind of learn one spot at a time, and pipeline was super humbling and intimidating. There's this guy, Adam Salvio. His nickname was Adam 12. He was a guy from Miami.
Okay.
He still lives on the North Shore. But my first time surfing pipeline, I met him on the beach, and he took me under his wing, and he recognized I was from Florida. I think he recognized how nervous and scared I was. Just looking at real pipeline too. It was real intimidating, and he kind of showed me the lineup and took me out, and it's like, gosh, man, it was like, you know, it's just so much to be thankful that he actually did that, took the time, really helped me a lot. When
you finally paddled out there at like real pipe, what was your thoughts?
I was frightened. I mean, you know, it's like back then nobody wore leashes at pipe. And, and
wow.
Yeah, it was just, you know, kind of learning the rips, and of course seeing my heroes and seeing guys like Lopez doing it the right way, and it was really, really inspiring. And I've got a few pictures from my first surf there.
That's so cool.
It's pretty cool.
So at this time you're riding twin fins at the inlet. What kind of boards you riding at pipe?
Yeah, pipe. You know, I was riding a single fin in 80. I had brought one little small wave twin fin, but I brought like a 510 20, a 610 single fin, and a 7.3 single fin. That was my first winter there.
Okay. And who was shaping those?
Yeah, Greg Lower was shaping those. Yeah.
Did the boards work? And then?
Yeah, they worked great.
In pipe.
Yeah, they worked great. It got me some good waves, and I'll send you a couple pics. You know?
That's rad. Yeah, please do.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you do 26 years. So obviously you made friends there, and you love the islands.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
sketchy situations you've had to have several, but anything like where it was like, holy
Yeah,
shit?
yeah, not just the normal stuff. Mike,
Yeah.
just the normal stuff that any mainland surfer that was hungry to get some waves would encounter.
Yeah.
But I was really fortunate. Some guys like Jeff Crawford kind of paved the way, and then Pat Mulhern as well had already made a great number of friends on the North Shore. And then Johnny Futch was another guy that
Okay.
was there that first winter. So I hung out with those guys, and I was able to meet some of the locals and stuff. So that I think that was a huge help, to sort of learn the ropes and kind of ease my way into it.
Yeah. Now, when you were traveling around, did you surf Sunset and some of those other breaks also? And what'd you think about those waves?
Yeah. Sunset was super intimidating.
Yeah.
I think the crowds at Sunset were actually a little bit heavier than Pipeline, I think, at that time. And, that wave just being such a large playing field and shifty peaks and stuff, that wave I knew was going to take a long time to learn. But I kind of focused a little bit more on pipe, and I was surfing Vellesley Land quite a bit that first year, and Rocky Point, of course.
Yeah. So you had a long career of just surfing at pipe and enjoying it.
Yeah.
When's the last time you've surfed it? Have you surfed it recently, or has it been a little bit?
I think I went like 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
I went. I had a good time. One of my buddies, Pete Hodgson, lives there. I've always used to stay with him, and he put me up this last time that I went. And yeah, definitely got humbled that last time I went.
Okay.
I almost broke my arm on my very first wave.
Ooh.
It was a pretty good sized day. It was an April swell. Like pipe was just firing. The first day I got there, and I was watching Michael and Derek were just charging, kind of. But it was like macking pipe. I wasn't going to step into like 12-foot pipe on my first day. So I waited until the second day. It was like 8 to 10 feet. And I don't know. Yeah, it's just funny. This wave kind of swung and came right to me, and it just seemed like a magic moment. I went, but it ended up not being the magic moment. And yeah, it's
holy crap! Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's humbling for sure, man. It's something pipe, as perfect as it looks. There's little subtleties. Sometimes it's got backwash in it, and you don't really recognize it until you really take a really close look at it,
Yeah.
That wave had some backwash in it as I was dropping in, kind of aired out and got lipped.
Oh man. So the first time you surfed, you said there's maybe 12 guys out. Nowadays there's 80 guys out. Did you ever think how lucky you were to have it like so few people out?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some really magic days, and it's the wave is exactly the same as it ever was, but now it's so much harder to get waves, and it's such a deep pecking order of guys, and at my age now, it's I'm not that
okay.
I'm not that enthused to get in the middle of it. Although 7 years ago, I was keen, and I got a few waves for sure.
Cool.
After I got injured, I rested for like 3 days, and then I got a few waves. But
that's right.
But yeah, it's cool to look back on. Maybe I'll give it a go again if I get the right little window to
it all lines
get
up.
a few.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right, so you do Hawaii, but you're also finishing up as a pro, right? So how long were you a pro surfer? Like really, like chasing it?
I mean. Yeah, I think it was like 42 years old the last time I made some decent prize money.
That's such a long career.
Yeah, thanks.
That's rad.
Yeah. I did the world tour for like 6 years, committed to like 5 full years, got to travel all over the world. It was incredible, and it was a great time.
Yeah.
A lot of learning, and and just getting him to surf Hawaii every winter was incredible. Making friends all along the way. That's what I really enjoy your podcast that you have, and just seeing all the interviews and checking those out and listening
I
to
appreciate
a lot
that.
of my old friends. Yeah, it's great what you're doing.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. At what point are you riding your own boards? Like, when do you decide that you're confident enough to really surf on your own boards or your own equipment? Are you kind of switching boards back and forth in the beginning?
Yeah, when I was at Ocean Avenue, I started dabbling and shaping a couple of boards for myself, and kind of getting back into that learning process.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened was, I believe I was traveling, and what happened? The Ocean Avenue factory burned down. It caught fire.
Bummer.
Yeah, I was in tears. I came home, and I was like, basically kind of thinking like my whole career is like done. It really, really struck home and really, really hurt. So yeah, I kind of gave it some time, and I was hoping that those guys were gonna get the factory going, and it just wasn't really. Things weren't all coming together, and so the guys up in Cocoa Beach at Quiet Flight, were really starting to gain some strides, and that was like right in my backyard. I still lived up in Cocoa Beach, and they offered me an opportunity to start shaping for them and riding for them.
Okay.
And that was in '83, and so it was an incredible opportunity, that I couldn't pass up. And so I started shaping for them, and all the while I was doing the world tour and stuff too, and I would go to Japan and shape, and was kind of helping fund my way on the world tour as well.
Shaping was.
Shaping was helping it. So I'd go to Japan and stay for like a month and shape, and then go to Australia and compete. And so I was really lucky that the guys at Quiet Flight had given me that opportunity too. And then I'd come home in between events and then shape. And that was around the time I got Kelly to get on my boards in '83.
When you're doing the traveling and going into other shaping bays and working, what label are you using?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I was doing Emotion Surfboards was the very start.
Okay.
There was a guy named Mr. Fu who had an Emotion Surf Shop in Tokyo. He had given me the opportunity to start shaping a few boards, and then I'd come home and I was doing some Quiet Flights.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but I'd gotten Kelly on board Quiet Flight and Sean Slater, and so that was pretty cool to work with those guys. And
so you have Sean and Kelly super young. What did you think? Did you know they were going to be great surfers? Both of them ripped.
Yeah. You could tell Kelly, surfed really well. Sean surfed really well. Yeah. Kelly, he was riding, when he was about 8, he was riding this like boogie board thing. I think it was called a tubo or something like that. It was a really strange sort of board. It was like a boogie board with fins, but he was like ripping on it at the end of our street and like doing 360s and stuff. And he's kind of like, a lot of people were like, "Whoa, look at this kid, man. He's so cute. And like, look how good he is." And that was around that time. The Salick brothers got him on board. And then Dick Catree had got him on board, riding his, the Catree boards. Okay. So I kind of recognized how good he was, and my shaping career was taking off. So I went and talked to him and Sean, and I'd asked Kelly and Sean to join the team. And shortly after, I brought him in the shaping room and sizing him up and started making him boards. And
was that the smallest board you ever made?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So with that being said, also just a quick question is, do traditional, let's say whatever, like 6-foot boards or 5/8 or whatever, do they break down to a smaller person if you kind of keep all the, the dimensions and stuff?
Yeah. Back then it was a huge learning curve for sure. I mean, Kelly was so small. The blanks that we were getting from Clark Foam back then, they were like 4 inches thick. So
That's
So
so funny.
you're shaping like, they were like Dick Brewer blanks,
Oh wow.
just super thick. And that was all we had, so
Yeah.
yeah, so it was good though. It really pushed my shape into another level to be able to do that and learn and make his boards and stuff.
That's
And
right.
yeah, they kept progressing. Yeah, the Sundeck guys started giving me a budget to go on the road and take Sean and Kelly on the road. So we would go up the East Coast, and I'd sell some boards and take those guys surfing and get those guys onto some good waves and stuff. And
That's awesome.
yeah,
So you're like the
it was
mentor,
great.
really.
Yeah, we built a great friendship and
Cool.
and had a lot of fun surfing together.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So your shaping's taking off. You're working. I don't know how you do it because it seems like there's 24 hours of the day is not enough for you.
Yeah.
It's what it seems like. And you're traveling. You're shaping for other guys, and then what happens?
Yeah. A lot of stuff was going on, and like I said, it was just like in this short little period. It was actually in '85. That's when Sundeck offered me the opportunity to start my own label. And so I brought Kelly and Sean with me over to my label.
Okay.
Under the K brand. And that's when Sundeck started doing advertisements and stuff too. And then as well, they were giving me a budget each summer to take a road trip and take those guys up the coast. And that was huge. I recognized like I really, I wanted to keep getting Kelly and Sean into some really good quality waves. I knew that was going to really take their surfing to another level, got them onto some good waves and hatters and up in New York and stuff. And
wow.
So that's kind of how that happened.
So you start your own brand. What is the demand for your brand? Is it automatically, are people wanting your boards?
Yeah, they, right off the bat,
because you're established. Shaper.
I'd already established my name through Quiet Flight as a shaper.
Yeah.
I had my own brand with Quiet Flight called Matt Kechele Airlines.
Okay.
Kind of established that, and I was getting quite a bit of magazine coverage and stuff. And
you get a lot.
Kelly and Sean were getting a lot of magazine coverage. So, and then as well, our trips up the coast were kind of really helping me build my brand up and down the East Coast. Yeah. So, and then we were doing the Surf Expo. Sundeck had us set up with my own booth at the expo.
Oh, cool.
Well, they had some other labels as well. They're actually doing Corky Carroll's brand at the time.
Yeah.
Ken Bradshaw actually was coming over to Surf Expo as well. He was on the Sundeck program and selling his boards out of the same booth too.
Wow. The big names of the time, really.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
for sure.
Rad. It's awesome. So you're just building your brand. It's just going. Is it going bonkers? Is that?
Yeah, it was definitely taking off. Sundeck at that time, they were a really established surfwear company and selling on the West Coast and the East Coast, and so they had a lot of accounts. So I was able to kind of tap into their accounts, and Bill Yerkes was a really established businessman in surfing, and had built a really great reputation for himself. Sort of the same way that I did in some ways. He back in the 60s, he was running up and down the East Coast and was a sales rep for GNS.
Okay, yep.
Back in the 60s and stuff, and so that's kind of how he built his name in surfing up and going up and down the East Coast. And, and meeting friends and opening up new surf shops and stuff.
Was your focus East Coast?
Yeah, my focus was East Coast. Bill had gotten me into some West Coast accounts and the Gulf Coast as well. Texas as well. There's a number of surf shops over there.
And are you doing all these boards? Or are you having like ghost shapers help you? Or?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of them, and then we had some other ghost shapers doing them as well. Cannon was doing them out in Encinitas. I was able to kind of cherry pick some shapers that I wanted to work with here as well, because I was still traveling and trying to stay focused on doing the world tour and stuff all at the same time. It
seems like so many jobs.
Yeah, it was gnarly for sure. It was definitely a task, but I was up for it.
Were you? Was it stressful? Do you still able to
No.
enjoy life?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay, cool.
100%. Yeah. I mean, there's the passion was there. It's still there today.
Wow, that's cool.
In making boards. It's just the artistry and designing and making boards. It's still ever, every bit as fascinating as it ever was, just never ending learning from doing that sort of thing. And
so it's never become a
I
job
love
for you. It's a
No,
love.
it really hasn't.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
it really has been a love, and I've been real fortunate. Like I said, I'm just really thankful that
Cool.
all these guys took me under their wing and gave me opportunities and mentored me for sure.
Do you think that you being such a good surfer at such a young age, and also maybe your attitude, do you think that's what kind of they wanted to help you?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that it was the timing.
Timing.
I never really asked them. I think they recognized my ability and they saw that it might be a good partnership.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Quiet Flight guys recognized my ability and saw the opportunity. It was sort of a mutual agreement that we had, and the same had happened with Sundeck. And I think it was mutual all the way around. These guys at Ocean Avenue for the same sort of reason. They were building a team, and that was when that teams were really a big thing.
They were,
a surf shop to have a solid surf team, a surfboard company to have a solid surf team. That's kind of what it was all about.
Kind of their marketing strategy.
Same with the clothing brand, Yeah.
So the surf industry has changed over the years, and you've been involved in it when it really took off, actually.
Yeah.
What do you feel about the surf industry today?
Yeah, it's certainly changed. Mike. I actually worked for Quicksilver for 30 years.
Wow.
I got hooked up with those guys in, I think it was 87 or 88. Danny Kwok had, given me the opportunity to come on board as kind of one of the first East Coast team managers and marketing guys for them and doing grassroots events. And I was really fortunate that was kind of towards the end of my world tour traveling and stuff, and kind of changing gears and even working on my shaping even more.
Yeah.
And working for Quicksilver at the same time. It kind of went hand in hand. Yeah, it's just incredible luck and timing.
Yeah, that sounds. I mean, you've had a full life.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good life.
Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Where are you living today?
Yeah, I live in Melbourne Beach,
okay.
Which is I'm about 8 miles from Sebastian Inlet. Yeah, it's I love it down here. I moved to Satellite Beach, which there's some pretty good surf spots there. Kind of in the late 80s is when I moved there, and then in the early 90s I moved down here to Melbourne Beach.
What's your fondest memories of surfing, and what age bracket do you think it was?
It's
been a long range. Not that you're old by any means, but you've done a lot.
Yeah, Mike, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I'm still thankful. I went to Sumatra just in May, and that was a really special time.
So today even is good.
Yeah, I still enjoying myself. I think I'm more thankful than ever to get my moments to surf. Now it's a pretty special time. During COVID, I had a little bone spur in my shoulder, and it kind of set me back a bit.
Okay.
And I was able to work through it and get my shoulder healed up. And that's when I decided to take that trip to Sumatra and really work on my surfing again. And
that's right.
Kind of got my ability back to where I was happy again. So, just pressing forward and see how long I can keep doing this stuff, Mike.
And the Florida surf scene, is it as strong today as it was in your day, in your heyday, or is it different?
Yeah, it's different, Mike, as it is, I'm sure, in your backyard. The sponsorship opportunities don't seem to be around like they used to be. That sort of energy level. There used to be pro contests there used to be like at least like one pro contest every month back here.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's rare now. There's only a few pro contests every year, which is a shame, you know.
Total shame.
Yeah, but there's still some really top level surfing going on, and there's some up and coming kids that are really turning a lot of heads, and I see a lot of potential in a lot of kids. I hope they get some of the same opportunities that I had.
I know. It's almost like, I mean, in my opinion, it's, with the such a few amount of people sponsored, they're kind of killing, and no magazines, of course, too. They're kind of killing. I don't know, not killing is the right word, but squashing surfing a little bit, or not maybe the dream of a Grom of a 10-year-old with the poster on the wall.
Yeah, it seems as though I don't know. I think the opportunities are there. I just think that the level is raised so high that, like, to get to that, you know, to get to that, like, top, you know, to have a company like turn their heads and see a kid and say, whoa, this kid looks like a top 10 surfer.
Yeah.
Like those sort of things don't happen as much, I don't think, but they're still there. And as we all look to Brazil and stuff, and you still see kids coming out of there, and you see like 10-year-olds doing, you know, huge air 360s and stuff now. You know, I think there's still like opportunities for like that kind of that cream to rise to the top, and those guys to get those opportunities. But I don't think there's as many opportunities now that, you know, that like companies doling out the programs like they were, you know, which is a shame. Yeah, I hope it gets back to that one day.
I hope so too.
You know,
shaping today. Are you still shaping today?
Yep, still shaping today.
Yeah,
and my wife and I, we own Freak Traction. We manage and run that. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And shaping's just as fun?
Yeah, shaping's just as fun. And I love making myself boards and making customers boards and going through that process of making all kinds of different types of boards, and still learning. And just every bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. The rumor has it that like Sebastian Inlet's not the same as it used to be. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. And it's unfortunate because I live finally I live right down the road, you know. And some engineers they capped off the jetty and rebuilt the pilings, and and they put in some rocks out on the tip. Just some ever slight changes to the jetty was enough to basically ruin the first peak. Up the beach and stuff, the lefts still get really good. It doesn't seem to happen as often. They've done a lot of beach renourishment projects along our coastline, and that's also kind of attributed to kind of screwing up the wave, Mike.
Bummer. Is your backside better than your front side? And how hard was it surfing first peak? Isn't that pretty much just a right-hander?
Yeah, it's a right-hander. I feel like I feel like nowadays my front side's probably better than my backside. But yeah, the first peak was a really magic wave for the backhand surfing. Yeah, for sure. And I definitely focused on it. But the lefts up the beach was also a big part of my focus back in the early Sebastian days and stuff. And
I bet.
Yeah, I sure hope that wave comes back around too.
Just cross our fingers.
Stay optimistic.
Matt, thank you so much for coming on the Quartercast. It was super fun.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah.
All right,
Matt. Nice. Cool, Mike. Thank you, buddy.
100 foot out choke food. 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out choke food. 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. Your boo on my didgeridoo. They calling me dude. I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. She grabbing a hold of my leggy. They jelly, they get you my wetty. The fridge of Giuseppe, the chain is so heavy. She think that I'm charging the Eddie. 100 foot out choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out choke poo. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. Surf trap, I'm stacking that money. Cash. Four shorts, a red Ferrari. He start to calling me Dundee. Diamonds a surfing McFlurry. Trap, she want me to teach her to surf. Splash, I'm pulling up, ripping the verse. I'm leaving these kooks in the hearse. They get moved 100 foot on their head, they get work. 100 foot out choke poo. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out choke poo. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. They calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop.
Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film. But dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.